96.7 KCAL rocks. It is Monday morning, which means we got to get all caught up with our guy Pep on what is going on in the sports world. What is up, Pep?
40, and here's the cool thing, man. We actually had football this past weekend. The debut of the return, I guess you'd call it, right, of the USFL. We had a bunch of games, and they're all in Birmingham, Alabama. Like, they're doing this one central location where all the games are at the same stadium, and all the teams come there. There's 8 teams from all across the country, but they all play their games in Alabama. And bonus points for you, 40, because there was one game that was pushed to Monday night tonight. If you want to watch some Monday night football, who is playing in the big Monday night game tonight in the USFL?
I did tune in some USFL over the weekend. I know I saw the New Jersey team playing, but as far as the game that was postponed, I do not know.
Oh, the big Monday night football game is the Tampa Bay Bandits against the Pittsburgh Maulers.
Okay, so we finally get to see the Bandits and the Maulers
finally
tonight.
No, it was cool. It was cool just to have football. They were actually all very close games. And yeah, one game because of weather was pushed back to Monday. So it got me thinking, man, Monday night football here in the month of April between the Maulers and the Bandits. It's going to be a big one.
I'm sure the USFL is very happy to early on have a Monday night football to go ahead and use.
You know what? Yeah, right now, why not take that Monday Night Football moniker and just run with it? Although I think the games are on Fox Sports 1, I want to say, or FS1.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what channel I found it on. I just kind of randomly found it, and like I turned it on the TV. I wasn't even actively watching it. It was just kind of on.
Yeah, like USA Network. I think they're all over the place,
exactly.
But if you love football, I know we have the draft coming up, and we'll talk more about that in the coming days and weeks. But yeah, the USFL is back for football here during the springtime. Now, 40, I did want to talk about the NBA playoffs because the last time we talked, we were saying, hey, maybe the Clippers can find a way to get into the playoffs. Well, Paul George came down with COVID, and they got bounced by New Orleans in that play-in game. So the Clippers are not in the playoffs. But, you know, New Orleans got into the playoffs, and they got the number 1 seed Phoenix, and the Suns hammered New Orleans like they thought they would. So even if the Clippers got in, and we saw the writing on the wall, they'd have to play the number 1 Suns, it was not going to probably end very well either way for the Clippers.
Yeah, it seemed like for the Clippers, they were just kind of hoping on Kawhi Leonard perhaps getting in, back from injury if they could go far enough into the playoffs. That's like all they were banking on. And then, yeah, once you lose Paul George to a COVID thing going into that last game, like, yeah, it's the writing's on the wall at that point.
Yeah, you need Paul George. Like he's your, especially with Kawhi out, you need Paul George. You need PG-13 out there on the floor to give your team a chance. And they just did not have, enough weapons out there to get past New Orleans. So now they have to regroup. Hopefully Kawhi will be 100% the next time we see him take the floor for the Clippers. Because the Clippers, at least on paper, are still a very good team if everyone is healthy. That's the big caveat.
And it seems like we're starting to get the playoff storylines coming around now. There's a lot of Kyrie anti-Boston stuff going on, trash talking with him and the fans.
That's exactly where I wanted to go next because the Celtics versus the Nets game was probably the best playoff game we had over the weekend. Yeah, and Kyrie Irving dropping the middle finger, gesturing to the fans. He had a big game and he made a bunch of tough shots, but yeah, he just can't help himself, from engaging the fans who are heckling him.
Kyrie's kind of going full heel here now in the playoffs.
I always use my wife as a barometer because she is a very, very casual sports fan, does not follow it. But she's like, why does everybody hate Kyrie Irving? And I'm like, oh, he's done and said a lot of, crazy things, and he flipped people off in this game, and that's his former team, the Boston Celtics. So there's a lot of reasons why those fans in Boston are just really giving it to him.
The whole flat earth thing, there's a lot with him.
Yeah. But I told her, I'm like, but he's one of the best players in the NBA. The guy can flat out score. So
right, exactly.
That's why teams want him. But yeah, we got the playoffs going, and it was the Celtics winning by 1 over the Brooklyn Nets. So we'll keep the tabs on that as we get through the first round of the NBA playoffs. The other big news for the NBA at least was they named the 3 finalists for the NBA MVP award. It's going to be Nikola Jokic, right, from the Denver Nuggets, Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Milwaukee Bucks, and Joel Embiid from the Philadelphia 76ers. And you'll notice that I did not say LeBron James of the Lakers.
You did not happen to mention LeBron James in that list of names.
No, I mean, he only played in 56 games, but those 56 games, it might be one of his best seasons in his entire NBA career. Like, he was fantastic for the Lakers this year, but he is not one of the 3 finalists for the NBA's MVP, probably because I'm going to assume the Lakers did not get into the playoffs. These 3 other guys, what do they share? What do they have in common? They're all in the playoffs, and they're all on teams that could make a serious run at the title.
That's again, not getting to the playoffs definitely hurts LeBron's chances at that MVP. Plus, I mean, there is that voter fatigue too. People are just kind of tired of hearing LeBron's name after all these years.
Yeah, you know what? Like, so the previous 2 seasons, Giannis won it. Then last year it was Jokic. So, you know, I think they like to go outside the box sometimes and be like, okay, who was good this year? Who is the best player on the best team this year? And you know, obviously the Lakers weren't that good, and LeBron had to do a lot of things, so he kind of padded his stats, but that was not enough to sway, the folks who vote for the NBA MVP.
Time to look to the future.
Yeah, it is for the Lakers and the Clippers, right? For their playoff chances, at least, if they can turn things around. Now, there was a big sigh of relief on Easter Sunday, and that was from all the Angel fans, and that was Mike Trout. Took a fastball right off of his hand, and the x-rays were negative. So Mike Trout is okay. It sounds like he will not play today in a big series against the Houston Astros. But man, and when you see Mike Trout get hit on the hand and he, comes out of the game, he's holding his hand, it does not look good. But shortly later on social media, the Angels tweeted out that x-rays were negative. So that was a big sigh of relief.
Yeah, even in my Easter celebration, I was at the horse racing track with a bunch of my friends, and word of the Trout, like all that was spreading throughout the track. It was big news everywhere.
I hopped on Twitter and I saw he was trending, and I'm like, okay, this is a really good thing or a really bad thing? Let me investigate and find out what's going on. Yeah, and I saw the piece of video where he got hit in the hand. I'm like, oh man, Angel fans cannot catch a break. Like, what is going on? Especially Mike Trout, who just seems to be, getting injured here and there, and right in the prime of his career. So the Angels, actually, right now, they could really use him in this series against Houston. The Angels right now are in first place in their division.
Come
they
on,
are in
Angels.
first place.
Keep it up. Just hold on to it now for like the next couple months.
Hey, and so are the Dodgers. The Dodgers are also in first place. In fact, the Dodgers and the Giants have the best record in baseball through the first 2 weeks of the season. So the Dodgers are off to a hot start, like we assumed they would be, right?
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what we thought for the Dodgers.
And the Dodgers get the Braves tonight, and that's the defending World Series champion. There's kind of a rivalry now between Atlanta and the Dodgers. And, of course, Freddie Freeman, the new big-time acquisition for the Dodgers, that's his former team. So there's a lot of great storylines going into this series between the Dodgers and the Braves, which starts tonight.
There you go. Check all that out. I need to have Pep keep me up to date on everything happening in the baseball world because he is my baseball plug. We will talk to you again on Thursday. Pep, tell everybody how to get your stuff.
Hey, and you're my USFL guy, 40. You can get it. You can find everything on Inland Sports, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and the Inland Sports YouTube channel. That is Inland Sports.